The Magwad family was a kind, hardworking, and God-fearing family living in the Philippines. Cruz and Lavella were both teachers. They had two smart, well-behaved children, an 18-year-old daughter named Crizel Gwyn and a son named Crizel Luis. Both of them had a peaceful, happy childhood, growing up surrounded by their parents' love. By 2021, Gwyn was studying medicine, while Luis dreamed of becoming a lawyer in the future. Although the Magwad family wasn't wealthy, they lived a comfortable and happy life. Their small home was always filled with laughter. In July 2021, the Magwad family welcomed a new member into their home, a 17-year-old adopted daughter named Janice. Janice was an orphan who had endured a rough, difficult childhood. No one knew much about Janice's background, but one thing was clear. She came from a life of deep poverty. On September 22, 2013, a woman found an 8-year-old girl wandering alone near a ferry terminal. That little girl was Janice Sibiel. Janice told the woman that she had no parents and couldn't remember anything about her life before that day. The woman was shocked and immediately posted the girl's photo online. It was unclear whether Janice had gotten lost or had been abandoned. Despite the woman's efforts to share the post across countless forums and communities, sadly no one ever came forward to claim the child. In the end, Janice was placed in an orphanage. Time passed, and Janice grew up. She began working as a housemaid, moving from one home to another to make a living. In 2020, a couple with two small children hired Janice as a nanny. That couple happened to be relatives of the Magwad family. During a family gathering, Janice met Gwyn for the first time. The two girls instantly became close friends. Janice, Gwyn, and Louise would often film dance videos together on TikTok. The two teenage girls could spend hours talking about everything without ever getting bored. One day, out of curiosity, Gwyn and Louise asked Janice why she wasn't in school and had to work as a maid at such a young age. Janice sadly explained that she was an orphan. Tears began streaming down her cheeks as she told them that she had grown up without a family, forced to work tirelessly day and night just to survive. She had to wash clothes, cook, clean houses, and never had the chance to go to school. Her future felt hopeless, and she had no idea where her life was headed. Gwyn pulled Janice into a tight hug. She felt deeply sorry for her friend, and in that moment, an idea came to Gwyn's mind. After discussing it with Louise, the two siblings went to their parents and begged them to adopt Janice. At first, Mr. and Mrs. Magwad were hesitant. Their home didn't have a spare bedroom, and their modest teacher salaries were barely enough to support the family. But Gwyn and Louise pleaded with them every single day. Gwyn promised she would find a part-time job to help ease the family's burden. Louise even offered to sleep on the living room sofa so Janice could have his bedroom. In the end, Mr. and Mrs. Magwad gave in. They believed that maybe this was God's will, after all. What was one more seat at the table? They told themselves everything would be just fine. They had no idea what fate awaited them. In July 2021, Mr. and Mrs. Magwad officially adopted Janice and enrolled her at the very school where they both taught. Janice even changed her name to Janice Magwad. Then the peaceful life of the Magwad family was suddenly shaken. One day, about $200 kept in an old money box inside Mr. and Mrs. Magwad's bedroom mysteriously disappeared. At first, Janice claimed that maybe a thief had reached in through the window to steal the money, but everyone in the house found this explanation strange. Nothing like this had ever happened before. Why would a thief only take the cash from the box? And why were there no signs of a break-in or anything else out of place inside the house? Everyone thought it was strange, but no one suspected anything until Gwyn discovered a hidden pocket inside Janice's backpack, carefully sewn shut. Inside was the exact amount of money that had gone missing. Janice quickly confessed and admitted to taking it. She claimed she didn't know why she had done it. Maybe it was because of all the pain and trauma she'd carried since childhood, always afraid of going without, always worried about having nothing, and so she stole. The money, Janice broke down in tears and sincerely apologized. Though they were shocked and confused, Mr. and Mrs. McGuad chose to be understanding and compassionate. Gwen and Louise didn't just speak up for Janice in front of their parents. They comforted her, assuring her that they would do everything they could to help heal the wounds she carried inside. The five of them spent weekends together, going on outings and attending church. They treated Janice like family, often giving her a little extra care and attention so she'd never feel left out or abandoned. For the first time in her life, Janice experienced what it felt like to wake up in the morning without the fear of losing her job or being forced to wander the streets. The McGuad family gave her an education, a roof over her head, a loving home, and a future to look forward to. But sadly, in the end, it still wasn't enough. On the morning of December 10, 2021, Cruz and Lavella prepared breakfast for their children before heading off to work. Cruz was a teacher, and Lavella was the principal at their school. That morning marked a special moment. It was the very first time Janice was truly treated as an official member of the family. It was an important milestone for both the adoptive parents and their adopted daughter. Cruz and Lavella were overjoyed, feeling blessed to have gained another child. They left the house that morning with happy hearts, completely unaware that what started as a beautiful, ordinary day would soon turn into the darkest, most tragic day of their lives. Around 3 p.m. that afternoon, a series of disturbing status updates appeared on Janice's Facebook account. She wrote that someone had broken into the house and that she was hiding under Louise's bed, which was now hers, begging for someone to call the police. One of Cruz's co-workers happened to see these posts and immediately called him in a panic. Cruz was working on repairs in a classroom at school when he received the terrifying news. His heart racing, he jumped on his motorcycle and sped home. As fast as he could, his mind was in turmoil. But nothing could have prepared him for the nightmare that was waiting for him at the house. When Cruz arrived home around 3:15 p.m., he stepped through the gate and was met with an eerie, unsettling silence. As he approached the front door, he saw a blood-soaked blanket lying on the ground, with a bloodied knife beside it. His heart sank. Cruz began calling out for his children, but no one answered. He reached for the doorknob. It was locked. Panic rising, he hurried around to the back of the house. Still calling their names, the house remained unnervingly silent. He entered through the kitchen door and made his way to the living room. That's when he saw it, his children's lifeless bodies lying in pools of blood. Shattered glass, a hammer, and a blood-stained baseball bat littered the floor. The entire house reeked of blood. Gwen's body was covered in bruises and stab wounds. She was stiff and cold, with ants already beginning to gather around her. Meanwhile, Louise was found near the front door, his hands bound and his mouth gagged. His body, too, was drenched in blood. Mr. McGuad was completely shattered. He collapsed to the floor, wailing in anguish as he clung to the lifeless bodies of his children. Just then, Janice appeared. She was soaking wet, not with blood, but with water. Cruz McGuad immediately rushed over and asked if she was hurt. It didn't take long for him to realize Janice didn't have a single scratch on her. Janice claimed she had been taking a bath and hadn't heard him calling. She explained that 3 men had broken into the house and attacked the 3 siblings. According to Janice, she managed to run into her bedroom, lock the door, and hide under the bed. She also said that after the intruders fled, she took a bath to calm herself down before coming out. Right after that, Cruz called Lavella at school to deliver the devastating news. Their children were gone. On the other end of the line, Lavella let out a heart-wrenching scream. Her legs gave out beneath her, and she collapsed to the floor, feeling as though her heart had been ripped straight from her chest. She blamed herself endlessly for not being there to protect them. In her mind, if only she had stayed home that day, her children might still be alive. The autopsy revealed that Gwen had suffered 21 stab wounds, while Louise had been stabbed 51 times. Both had been strangled and brutally beaten with a hammer and a baseball bat. It was clear that whoever committed this crime wasn't just trying to kill. They were unleashing pure rage and hatred on the two children. Nothing in the house had been stolen, except for Gwen's cell phone. This made it even more obvious that the murders weren't a robbery gone wrong, but a deeply personal, deliberate attack. Gwen and Louise were laid to rest on December 20th, 2021. More than 1,000 people gathered to pay their respects. Meanwhile, police pressed on with the investigation. Nothing of value had been stolen from the house. Every weapon used in the murders was a household item. The hammer belonged to Cruz, and he had kept it in a spot that only Janice and Gwen knew about. The baseball bat was Louise's, and it had been stored in his old room, which was now Janice's bedroom. That meant that at some point, the killer had to enter Janice's room, the very place where she claimed to be hiding, to retrieve the baseball bat. As much as Mr. and Mrs. McGuad didn't want to suspect their adopted daughter, the more they thought about it, the more Janice's story didn't add up. Why would cold-blooded murderers brutally attack Gwen and Louise, but leave Janice completely unharmed, without so much as a scratch? Why was she the only one left alive in such a savage, merciless crime? So when Mr. Cruz McGuad arrived home at 3:15 p.m., just 15 minutes after Janice posted her cry for help, the bodies of Gwen and Louise were already stiff, with ants crawling around them. The autopsy confirmed that both had been killed around 2 p.m. that afternoon, which raised the question, why did Janice wait so long before asking for help? Why did she have a phone in her hand but didn't call the police immediately, choosing instead to post a status on Facebook? And how could she take a bath after witnessing such a horrific crime? Strangely, she even found the time to change her Facebook name from Janice McGuad to JP, just before posting that desperate message. Besides that, Janice claimed she had locked the bedroom door and hid under the bed, but the room itself was in complete disarray, with bloodstains scattered across the floor. If the door had really been locked from the start, how did the attackers manage to get inside to retrieve the baseball bat? It was clear there were far too many holes in her story. Investigators conducted a thorough search of the house, and inside Janice's bedroom, they found an ID card belonging to a 17-year-old boy named Casado. Mr. and Mrs. McGuad had no idea who he was, however. One witness came forward and claimed that Casado was a young man who worked at a nearby church. Police also discovered a plastic bag in a nearby creek. It seemed the killers had thrown it away, hoping the current would carry it off, but instead, the bag got caught on a tree branch. Inside were Janice's blood-soaked clothes. But the most shocking piece of evidence was found on the baseball bat used to murder Louise and Gwen. Janice's fingerprints were all over it. After being interrogated for hours, Janice finally broke down and confessed. She admitted to being the mastermind behind the murders of Gwen and Louise, the very people who had begged their parents to adopt her. And she didn't do it alone. Janice revealed that Casado, the 17-year-old boy who worked at the local church, had helped her carry out the killings. Casado had feelings for Janice, and she took advantage of that, manipulating him into becoming part of her cruel, twisted plan. Facebook messages between Janice and Casado revealed that they had been plotting the murders 10 days before the crime took place. In those messages, Janice expressed an intense obsession with Gwen, claiming she was completely devoted to her, but in a chilling twist, she then asked Casado to help her kill Gwen and her brother. Janice told investigators that she killed Gwen out of jealousy, claiming she felt that Mr. and Mrs. McGuad loved Gwen more than they loved her. However, Janice never explained why she chose to kill Louise as well. Still, many believe that Janice wanted to eliminate both of the McGuad children so she could become their only child, the sole focus of their attention, care, and love. Around 2 p.m. on December 10th, Janice unlocked the door to let Casado sneak into the house. After Casado attacked, Gwen managed to escape and ran outside. But in an act of incredible courage, she turned back, desperate to save her little brother and to rescue Janice. Never realizing that the true monster was Janice herself, Janice also admitted that she was the one who personally killed Gwyn. As she was being stabbed, Gwyn screamed out, "This is just a dream. This is just a dream. I'm still going to become a doctor. You don't even know what you've done to me, Janice. I love you." After murdering Gwyn and Louise, Janice and Casado took a shower, changed their clothes, and stuffed their blood-soaked clothing into a plastic bag before throwing it into a nearby creek. Afterward, Janice pretended to be terrified victim, posting a dark, desperate status on Facebook to call for help. It took authorities only 6 days to close the case, when they arrested Casado. They also recovered Gwyn's missing cell phone. Janice was immediately taken into custody as well, and both of them were sent to a juvenile detention facility. It was later revealed that Janice was obsessed with the horror film Orphan, a movie about a family who adopts a child, only to discover she's a psychotic killer. Many believe Janice may have drawn inspiration from that film for her own twisted plan. In a final shocking twist to the case, it turned out that Janice was never an orphan. Throughout her time living with the Magwad family, Janice had secretly remained in contact with her biological parents. She was the daughter of Michelle Sibiel and Juanito Sibiel, a couple who had been separated for years. Janice also had 3 other siblings of her own. On December 29, 2021, Michelle and one of her children came to meet Cruz and Lavella. Michelle dropped to her knees, tearfully apologizing on behalf of her daughter, but Mr. and Mrs. Magwad gently embraced her and told her it wasn't her fault. They held no bitterness toward her and placed no blame on her for what had happened. At first, Lavella wanted to forgive Janice. As a devout woman, she believed Janice was a victim of poverty, of a broken, neglected childhood, and that perhaps, somewhere deep down, the girl carried unspeakable wounds from her past. But everything changed the moment Lavella saw Janice in court. Her eyes were cold, empty, and lifeless. After everything she had done, after all the horror and bloodshed, Janice showed no remorse, no guilt, and not even a hint of regret. She never apologized, not once. It was both insane and horrifying that a 16-year-old girl, welcomed with open arms by a kind, loving family, could carry out such a brutal, merciless act. They had treated her like their own, given her everything, and in return, she took everything from them. In May 2022, Janice was sentenced to 31 years in prison, while Casado received a 29-year sentence. Mr. and Mrs. Magwad expressed their deep gratitude for the outpouring of support from the community and the public during the darkest days of their lives. In August 2022, they opened a small restaurant in memory of Gwyn and Louise. The menu featured all the favorite dishes of their 2 beloved children. After everything they had endured, Mr. and Mrs. Magwad still found the strength and kindness to show love to everyone they met. They took comfort in knowing they had raised 2 wonderful, compassionate, and kind-hearted children, even though their lives had been tragically cut short. May the souls of Gwyn and Louise rest in peace, and may the shattered, grieving hearts of Mr. and Mrs. Magwad one day find healing.